Хочу поприветствовать вас на этом событии. Добро пожаловать! Сегодняшнее событие является глобальным. В этом году оно уже прошло в Токио, в Японии, в Бразилии, в Сан-Паулу. Сюда мы приехали из Мюнхена, мы в Москве, следующая на очереди Прага. Сегодняшнее событие самое большое, оно проходит уже в течение 3 лет, и сегодняшнее самое большое. За 3 года количество участников увеличилось более чем в 3 раза. В этом году мы получили 4000 заявок. Ну, вот мы не смогли пригласить всех, потому что этот зал вмещает вот такое количество людей. Мы надеемся в следующем году пригласить больше. Сегодняшнее событие ваше. Мы будем сегодня говорить о тех темах, которые вы для нас определили. Мы будем говорить о веб-разработке, мы будем говорить об андроиде, облачных вычислениях, социальном вебе и о монетизации. И для начала я хочу сказать, что вот самое главное, Chrome HTML5 в том числе разрабатывается и здесь, в России. И в Москве, и в Санкт-Петербурге ведется разработка Chrome, в том числе тех фич, о которых мы сегодня будем говорить. Кроме того, в Москве еще и ведутся исследования в области облачных вычислений. И московский офис, и питерский растут. Мы продолжаем, приглашаем новых сотрудников. Если вам интересно заниматься будущим веба, приходите к нам на работу. Московский офис переехал недавно в новое помещение, и в течение следующих 2-3 недель мы хотели бы провести несколько экскурсий. И если вам интересно посмотреть новый офис, который, вероятно, многие люди считают, является лучшим офисом Google вообще во всем мире, приходите к нам. Вот запишитесь этот URL, там форма. Мы, к сожалению, не сможем пригласить всех, но мы постараемся провести как можно больше экскурсий. А теперь давайте вернемся к теме сегодняшнего разговора. И я хочу пригласить на сцену директора по продуктам для разработчиков Эрика Толоме.
Thank you. Добро пожаловать. Thank you. We know your time is precious, so we really appreciate that you chose to spend the day with us here today. I'd like to start by taking a few steps back and looking at where we're coming from. And when I say where we're coming from, I'm not talking about monkeys. Not everyone agrees we're coming from monkeys anyway. I'm talking about computers here, so I mean mainframes. Isn't it impressive to look at the innovation that's happened since mainframes in the world of computing? All these innovations here on screen, combined with rapid increase in CPU speed as well as memory sizes, have created a revolution roughly every 10 years in the way that we develop applications, right? And if you look specifically at the last 3 technologies here on this slide, the web was a revolution, but in the past 2 years, there's been immense acceleration in the richness of the web. It's not a collection of web pages anymore, it's applications. And if you look at 3G, finally, we have good mobile data networks and great devices to take advantage of it. And if you look at the cloud, finally, we can use public shared infrastructure to run our applications. These 3 major technologies are changing rapidly and creating the new revolution that we're all part of. And this will be the theme of this keynote. We'll talk about the world of browsers and HTML5. We will talk about cloud computing, and we will talk about mobile and Android specifically. Let's start with browsers and HTML5. On this picture, I've drawn a number of logos that I'm sure you recognize. Microsoft Office, Photoshop, Acrobat Reader, Google, Wikipedia, Facebook, Skype, LinkedIn, etc. These are all the big applications that in the past 20 years have had a very big impact on the world. Do you notice something? If I draw this big dividing line, does it help seeing something here? Most of the major applications before 2004 were desktop-based. And after 2004, they're all web-based. Skype is probably the last application outside of browsers and games that was desktop-based and had a significant impact on the world. And the reason is simple. It's called Ajax. Ajax became widely available in 2004, and applications such as Gmail and Google Maps showed the world and all of us developers that the web didn't need to be just a collection of pages that could be used for applications. At the same time, it's been frustrating when you write a web application to not be able to do decent graphics and audio and video without proprietary plugins, to do decent 3D graphics, to interact with the hardware of the device. And that's why the community got together and decided to write a new version of HTML5, of HTML called HTML5. At the bottom of the screen here, you have a few of the key capabilities of HTML5 that actually enable graphics and 3D graphics and access to the local file system and basic capabilities you'd expect as a developer. But these capabilities only matter if they're widely available. So let's take a look at how HTML5 support stacks up against the major browsers. And first, let's look at 18 months ago, when the whole conversation around HTML5 really began. And there was some support, but it wasn't good enough. Now, let's fast forward to today. And do you know how this looks today? It's pretty exciting. This is how it looks today. All the major, modern, open source web browsers now support all these fundamental capabilities. And even Internet Explorer with IE9 has made great progress. And I'm sure you've heard Microsoft's commitment recently towards HTML5. This is really good news. Now, focusing just on video for a second, video is a complex domain. It's not just about tags and HTML5, it's also about codecs. And I just want to tell you something here and remind you first that we got together with other web companies and we announced WebM. WebM was announced a few months ago, and it's a project which aims at creating open formats for web, video, and multimedia. And as part of WebM, we contributed a royalty-free codec of very high quality for online video called VP8. I'm glad to report that there's been great progress on that front. We at Google are very committed to this, and our partners in WebM, in particular our hardware partners, are actually accelerating the roadmap to support WebM and VP8, so you can expect support broadly for this open standard for video to come very soon. The other good news is that if you look at the growth of mobile usage of the internet, it's fueled today by devices, smartphones, that are all HTML5 capable. So everything we talk about now in the world of HTML5 applies not just to desktops, but also to tablets and phones, etc. So that's really good. But enough words. I'd like to be more specific now and show you what you can do with a few lines of code in HTML5. To do this, I'm going to ask Pavel Feldman, a Google software engineer working in our St. Petersburg office of Google Chrome, to join me on stage. Pavel Feldman. Привет! And we'll start with graphics. If you remember on the previous pictures, graphics is, and Canvas in particular, the tag behind 2D graphics, is now widely supported in all the modern browsers. So Pavel, can you give us a couple of examples of what we can do with two-dimensional graphics?
Of course. So we'll start with the canvas. And canvas is an HTML5 element that we're using to control every pixel of your screen, every pixel of a real estate free element. Within a few lines of HTML and JavaScript, you can achieve exciting capabilities and features. Let me show it on an example. So that's the Matrix main theme. It is rendered real time using canvas element. So it's a single element and a bunch of JavaScript lines. And I can show you that it is live while moving the mouse here. So the screen distorts. The other demo is an application that Gmail engineers here at Google implemented to fight spam. Let me show you how it works. So there's a Gmail spaceship. It's going to fight spam that is incoming into your inboxes. And we have a lot of spam today, so it'll probably take me a while to fight it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to have to stop you because there's always new spam coming. So this was Canvas and this is 2D graphics. Of course, in many cases, 2D graphics is enough, but when you're in multimedia or you're doing games, you actually want 3D, three-dimensional graphics. And if you want these to actually work, you need them hardware accelerated. And there's good news there as well. WebGL, which you saw in the previous illustrations as widely available as well, brings that to you. And I'm sure you have some great 3D demos for us.
Of course. So Canvas 3D is based on the WebGL standard. That is an OpenGL standard operating OpenGL shaders language. So if you happen to know OpenGL shaders language already, you can jump straight into implementing it in HTML5. So let me show you a few exciting demos in here. This one is a hardware-accelerated rendering of a sphere with images. Let me rotate it. You see how smoothly it rotates. Let me actually increase the amount of images in here to like huge, and it still rotates very decent. Now we can look at and see that the frames per second for this scene is 30 frames per second. I can apply different modifications to this scene and it'll still work perfectly and fast.
Is this all happening in the browser?
Yeah, so let me show you the fish tank. The fish tank is